Yes, welcome back. Code with SDM here, and in this video I'll be sharing with you guys about the project which is called the project management application, which I've built it by using Filament version 4 with the help of Stack. And if you are new to Filament, so Filament, this is just an open source UI framework which is built on top of Livewire. So it helps you just to ship the admin panels and your app in a fast-paced way. So if you have never used the Filament at all, so this will be a good start for you to use Filament. And if you have never used the Livewire before, also you can be able to start off by using this particular video. So for now, without further ado, I want to show you the demo of the application that we are going to build today, and I'll explain everything that we are going to build through that demo. So let me navigate here on my demo application, and here you can see I have this beautiful sign in or authentication page, which is our login page, where the user can be able to sign in into our application. So you can see here, this is the URL of our application, and from here you can be able to sign in by using the credentials. So I'm going to sign in with one of the example users that I have. So I'm going to click sign in. So this will direct us to the dashboard of our application. And here is the dashboard or the welcome page of your application. Okay, so what we are going to build in this video is we are going to build a completely working project management application by using Filament and Laravel. So when we are talking about Filament, as I've mentioned, so this is just a UI framework. So here we are going to create a complete project management application which have the following features. So the first feature is how you are going to categorize your projects. You are going to manage your clients. So for as you know, you can have the project, but you should know the client that is the stakeholder for that particular project. So here we are going to see how to manage the clients. Also, we are going to see how you are going to manage the projects that you have by using this particular application. Also, a project can have multiple tasks, so we are going to see how you are going to manage the task of your project. And also, the application gives you this feature for user management. So in this particular video, I'm going to show you how also you can be able to show the related data. So for example, when you have a client and you want to know this client has how many projects that you have worked with. So by using this FilamentPHP, it will be easier for you to add that feature. So I'll show you how to add those. Let's say the client has how many projects, the project has how many tasks, and for the user has how many assigned tasks to that particular user. So for the bonus part, I'm going to show you how to add the roles and permission into your application. So I'm going to show you the roles and permission, how it works, and how it simplify your application to be able to manage the role-based access into your application. So how you're going to manage the access into your application's resources. Okay, and also I'm going to show you how to add this particular dashboard widgets. So there is different kind of widgets in Filament PHP. So one of them is the stats widget, like the one that you see here. But also we have the table widgets, as you can see. So we have the recent task and we have the recent projects. But also on the stats here, you can see the number of users, the number of clients, number of projects, and the number of tasks that you have. But here also you have these two cards. So the first one will be showing you the details of the logged in user. Here you have an option to sign out, and here on top right corner you can be able to change the theme of your application. So for example, you can change from light to dark, so you can see how good it is. And you can also change that to the system, so you can let the system decide the theme, so you can change to that. So that's how cool that it is. And also you can be able to sign it out from here. Here you are able to see the name of the logged in user, and up here you are able to have the global search. So for example, if you want to search for a project inside your application, you can use this global search to search for that particular project. So for example, if I want to search for this project, I can be able to search here. So I can say ratio. So you can see I see the same name that I see here. So if I click that, I should be able to open the view page of that particular project. So you can see this is the project. So you can see the name, start date, end date, the image, and you can see the status, the other feeds. So you can see also the related tasks that are relating to the particular project. So that's how easy and that's how cool you can just be able to do all of this by using FilamentPHP. And the good thing is FilamentPHP help you to have this global search that will help you to search across your application. Also, on categories here, we are going to have different type of categories. So for example, we are going to have the categories that are related to task, and we are going to have the other one that are related to project. So if you want to categorize the task, so instead of having a task category and the project category, we are just going to have just a categories table, but we are going to have this type so that we can be able to flag it as the task category and the project category. So I'll show you how to use the enums that will help us to track that. On your clients, you are able to see the listing of the clients like this. So you can see the name, email, phone number, and other details. So you can see the user that has created that particular client, the one that he has updated. You can be able to view or edit that particular client, but also you are able to create new client. And here you are able to hide or show any of these fields. So you can have these toggle options. So for example, we can show the created art, and if you click apply, now you should be able to see the created art field here. Okay, and you can just remove that by unchecking this and you apply. Okay, and now you can see it has gone. So that's how cool FilamentPHP is. But here down you can change the per page values, because the values will be automatically paginated by FilamentPHP. So here you can navigate through the different pages of your pagination, and you can see here the parameter is passed as you expected. And after that, you can be able to create a new client. So after clicking new client, you can be able to see the form, and in this form you can be able to add the name, email, address. So for example, I can fill that with the form filler, and then I can remove these brackets, and then from here the creator will be selected automatic, similar way to the updater, and then I can see if this client is active or inactive. So for example, I can choose the active, and then I can be able to create. So if I create this, this will be Maxwell O'Neill, and then create. So you can see it should give us the notification that this has been created successful, and here we are on view page of the client that we have created. But this is the new client, so that's why you don't see any of the related project. If you navigate to edit, now you should be able to see the page, I mean the related data for that project. But from here you can be able to create a new project that will be related to this particular client. So if you click in new project, So from here, make sure that you select the same client, so which is Maxwell O'Neill, and from here you can be able to add different values. So you can add the name of the project, you can add the description, the start date and the end date, and then you can add the image of that particular project if you have. So I'll just upload this one, okay, and you can be able to add any of these status. So for the start, I'll add it to be pending, so let me put it as a pending, and here you can see the creator and the updater. Also, I'm going to select the category of this project, so I'll select just a random category, and then I can be able to create this project. So let me click create. And now our project has been created successfully. So you can see here we are on edit on view page, which is using Filament info list pages. So this is the feature that was introduced by Filament on a couple of days where Filament was released. So lately we were just using the same form that we were using on edit that was used for view, but for now on view we are using the info list instead of the form. So here the info list, when you are talking about the info list, this is just for showing the read-only data. But if you want to edit, now you can go to the edit page, and the similar way as we did on clients and we created the project, similar way on project edit page you can be able to add the task for that particular project. So the project we have is this one. So if we create a new task, now we should be able to select the project. So let's search for that particular project and select it. So here you need to provide the name, so I'll just fill it by using that, and then the priority of my task, I'll make it to be low. And you can see here the when I'm changing these priorities, you can see the colors are changing. So for high, you can see it is danger, medium it is warning, and for low it's just the green or the success. Also here on status, you can see it is changing, so you can see the colors are updating. Also you can upload the image, and here you can see you can be able to select the category, and you can be able to assign a certain user. So for example, I've logged in here as a SPA admin, so I'll assign this to SPA admin, and then I'll create the task. Okay, so means that now I have the task which is related to a certain user, and we have assigned it to the SPA admin. So if now we go to the SPA admin page, and now let's go to the SPA admin page, which is this one. So if we navigate to the edit page, we should be able to see the assigned task to this SPA admin. Okay, so here you can see this was the task that we have assigned this user. So you can see, so this is how easy you can just do that. But for the bonus part, as I've mentioned, we are going to see how to add the roles and permission. So for example, here on edit page, you can see we have a way to add the roles. So here you can add multiple roles. For example, this user is the SPA admin, but you can add another roles if you want. But I'll go back here and show you the roles that I have for the system. So I've defined the 3 of the roles, so the SPA admin, developer, and project manager. And you can see from here they have a guard name, and they have the number of permission that they have. Also they have the updated add field, but also the user can be able to edit them or delete. Also they can be able to add new role. So for this particular project, I'm going to show you how to create the roles how to assign them permissions. So for example, on the developer, if I open this one, you will see how I've assigned those roles and permissions. So you can see the developer on category resource, the developer can only be able to view these particular categories, but they cannot be able to create or update. So if we navigate here and if we log in as a certain user, so for example, let me check for the, let me go to the user. So let me open this to the new tab and let me see the developer. So I want to check for the user that has the developer. So it is Frederick. Now let me try to log in as Frederick. Let me just copy this one. So let me copy the email and let me put the password. I just want to show you how the roles and permission works. So for example, we've mentioned here that the developer can only be able to view the categories, but they cannot be able to create, update, or delete them. So here on developer side, if we try to navigate to categories, now we should be able to see the listing of the categories, but you can see we are not able to edit, add new, or even delete. So we are just only able to see the listing of the categories. Similar way to the client. So if the developer navigates to the clients, now they are able to see the listing of the client, but they cannot be able to edit or delete them. So that's how cool this roles and permission is. And you can see here the developer cannot see or edit the roles and permissions. So means that only SuperAdmin has that role. So you can see here. So the developer does not have the access to view the roles and permission. But if you add the view, so for example, if we add the view and save, okay, so this will give you a notification. And now if you go back here and refresh, now you can see we have access to see the roles and permissions, but we cannot be able to edit or perform any of the changes. So if we navigate here, now we are able to see, but we cannot change anything here. So that's how cool this particular way that I'm going to show you is very cool to manage your FilamentPHP applications. So this helps you to track the access or to give access to your resources within your FilamentPHP application. So by saying so, I believe this demo was useful. So let me see you on the next session where I'll be showing you how to create this particular project from scratch. And welcome to the second session of our video. And in this section, I'll be showing you how to build the application from scratch. So here I have Laravel HUD opened on my screen. And if you want to know more about Laravel HUD, this is just a local development environment application. So it helps you to manage your local environment for Laravel applications. So if you want to know more about Laravel HUD, I'll not talk too much about that, but here you can just search for that. Like you can search for Laravel HUD, and from this link you will get more explanations about Laravel HUD, and it will help you to get started with Laravel HUD with your environment. So basically it is available for Windows and for macOS. So I'll not talk much about that. So let me go back to here. So from here, I'll just create my new application by going to the sites, and with here, I'll click this add button. So if I click that, here you'll be given option to either create a new Laravel project or link an existing project. So I'll stick with the new Laravel project, which will create a fresh Laravel project, which will be the latest Laravel project available. So means it will be Laravel 12. and then I'll click next. From this section, I'll not select any of these starter kits, so I'll just stick with no starter kit. Here I'll provide the name of our project, which will be project management app, and here I'll click next. So this will start to create our Laravel 12 application. So this one will be done. I'll start to build the application and it will be good to go. So let's give it a time and then it will be done. Okay, so here you can see our application was created successful. So now let's close this one and let's open this on our browser. So click here and you will see it will run here on our browser. So that will be the URL for our application, and this is our application up and running. So it's a Laravel 12 application. Now let's open it in our VS Code. Okay, so this is opening. Let's close the chat there, and this is our application on your VS Code. Okay, so now after application has been created successful, the first step will be to set up our database connection. So now let's visit the .env file here. From here, you can see we can start to change some of the configurations. So the first one will be to change the database connection. So because I'll use MySQL as my database, as I've mentioned here, so I'll use this as my database. So what I'll do, I'll change the connection to MySQL. So I'll change it to MySQL, and then I'll uncomment this other configuration, and then here I'll call it project management DB. Okay, and after that, after changing that, I also want to change the name of our application. So instead of just Laravel, I'll call it project management app. So let's keep it that way. You can name it to whatever you want, so that's cool for me. So I'll just leave that one. And now the next step will be to migrate the new database so that we can create a new database on our MySQL. And here I'll just run php @ migrate. So this will ask you if you want to create that new database connection, so I'll just say yes. Okay, so you can see the default database migrations have been created. So now if we visit our database here on the UI, if I refresh, now you should see a new database has been created, which is project management DB. And if you open it, now you will see it has these default tables that have been created. So you can see we have the users table, sessions, password reset token, migrations, and the other tables. Yes, so now let's focus on creating the models and the migrations for the tables that we will require to run our application. So the first step will be to create a new database table by using models. So I'll create the model, migration, and its factory. The factory will help us to create the dummy data so that we can have the testing data. So here I'll just say php make model, then I'll provide the name of the model. So the first one will be category. So this will be the category for project or task or anything. So we'll use this category model to categorize those other tables. So I'll just show you in a minute how to do that. So here I'll give this flag to say M means we need also to create a migration. Then I'll add F so that we can add also the factory. So now I'll click that. Okay, and now I'll create another model which will be client, and as you can see it has just created the model class, factory class and the migration for our table. So here I'll have the table for managing our clients. So the project management application, basically you should store the details of your clients. So this is why I created this new table, which is called the client. After that, now let me clear that and let's create another one for project. So we need to make sure that we manage our project in a cool way. Now also let's create another one for task. Okay, so now this is fine for the start. So now let me start to show you one by one. So the first thing will be to check on our first model, which is category. So this is the class that have been created, but also we have the migration, which is this one. Okay, and also we have the factory. So category, here we have the factory. So here you can see this is our factory. So the first thing will be to add here the fields that we want in our database. So I'll just add a string that should be the category name. Okay, also we need to have the type of category because we are using the same table to categorize different so let me make this to be enum. So it should make this to be type. Then you'll have options to categories of either project. So we'll have the type of project, we'll have the type of task, but also you can add other more types as you wish. So for now I'll have just those two, and here the default will be for project. Okay, and at the end here we need to have a string. Basically you can use text if you that will be a long description. So let me put here description, and this can be null. Okay, so that's cool. Now we can go to our model here and add those fields on your protected fillable attribute. And here we need to have the fields that we have there. So we have the name, we have type, and also we have description. Okay, then after that we can have relationships. So I'll show you in a minute how to add the relationships, but for now this is fine. Now let's move to the next model, which will be the client. So let's search for the client. Let's search for the client migration, and here on our migration so here let's add the fields that we require. So we'll have the following fields that I'm going to paste there, so I don't want to use much time here. So we'll have the name of the client, we'll have the email of that specific client, we should make sure that it is unique. Also we should have the phone number for that client, which will be nullable if the client does not have the phone number. Also the address, which is text, and we have the status, which will be defaulted to active, but for good way to manage the statuses I'll use enums. So here I'll just put the active and inactive. Okay, and the default will be active. Then we'll have the foreign key relationships here, which will be created by, which will be constrained to users table. Means that we need to track who created what, or this client was created by who, but also we need to know who updated the details for that specific client. Okay, so after that, now the client table is fine. Now let's add the fields here on the protected fillable attribute. So let's add that. Okay, now we have the name, we have email, we have phone, we have status, address, created by, and updated by. I guess I didn't forget anything here. Status, address, phone number, yeah, so that's cool. And now let me close that, and also this one. Now the next one will be the project. So now let's search for the project, which is this one. So from here, now let's add the fields that are required for our project table. So I'll paste the following. So we'll have the name of the project, which will be a string. We'll have the project description, which is a text, and it can be nullable if that project does not have any descriptions. But also we need to know where or when the project will start and when it will end. After that, we need to have an image path, basically, because the project can have, let's say, some kind of images that you want to show on your UIs. So we'll store here the image, but also we will have the status. So here I'll do the same thing that I've done with the client. So let me just go back to client here, and I'll copy this field. So I'll use enum on project status. Okay, but here I'll change some of the things. So the project in the status can be pending. Okay, let me change this one. So can be pending, can be on hold, can also be in progress, but can also be completed, and also it can be cancelled. So I believe for now that will be fine. So if you want more statuses, you can just add them here. Okay, so for now that will be fine, but also we need to track who created that project, also who updated that particular project. But also another important thing is this relationship between the project and the client. So we have here a client ID, which will be a foreign key, which will be constrained to project table. So you can just mention here the project name. So it will be projects, which will be the project table. So I mean clients. So this should be clients. Sorry for that. This should be clients that way. Okay. So after having that on your project, now let's add that to the project model here. So let me add the following. So protected fillable attribute will be the following. So we have the name of the project, we have description, we have start date and date, we have status, we have created by, we have updated by, and we have client ID, means this project belongs to which client. Okay, so I believe that is fine if I didn't forget. Yeah, so we need to also store the image path. So let's add the image path here. So image path. Okay, after that, now let's go to the next migration, which will be for task. So now let's move to tasks. Here on the task, I'll paste the following. Okay, we'll have the task name, description, image path for that particular task. Also, we'll have the status. So for the status, I'll also use the same statuses as for the project. So I'll just use the following field to be an enum. So I'll just change that to be enum. And for priority, I'll just do the same thing. So I'll just change this from string to be enum. And here I'll have the following. So we can have a low priority, medium, and also high. Okay, yeah, so that's cool. And by default, we'll just make it to be medium. That's cool. And also we need to know the due date for that particular task. We need also to have a foreign key to reference to which user does this task key belongs to. So we assign the task key to a particular user so that we can know if that user performed that task or not. Okay, but also we have the foreign key for referencing to the project. So here you can see it is constrained to project C table, and as the same we have the created by and the updated by. Okay, so now this is done. Now let's add that fields to the task key model. So task model here. Now let's go to the variable attribute, and we will have the task name. We will have description. Let me use this way. See here. So we have the image path. We have status. We have priority. So this should be priority. Also, we have due date. We have assigned the user ID, and let's add also the project ID here. So we'll have the project ID created by, and lastly we have the updated by. Okay, so now that's cool. Now let's start to add the relationships here. So what I'll do, I'll just paste some of the relationships that I've already prepared for you so that we can not spend a lot of time here. So the first one will be the relationship between the creator of the task, as we use the created by to track that, but you can see from here we have the foreign ID, which is called created by, which is referencing to the user's model. So that's what you see here. So I'll import this belongs to, which will be this one. Okay, and after that you can see from here the relationship will be called the creator. So this will must define it by using the public key function, and inside here we are using belongs to so that we can know that this task mini task belongs to this creator, which is related by using this foreign key. Okay, so that's cool. So that is our first relationship that we have, but also we need to have the relationship for the updater, so the one who updated the task. So this will be the updater. The only difference is the name of the relationship and the foreign key that you must specify here. Another relationship that we may have will be the projects, so that we want to know this task, let's say one task may belong to different projects. So you can see, you can create one project, and you can have the same task that will be repetitive to other projects that will be created. So you can have that relationship, though it's not that much important, but you can use it to get some of the data. So I'll put just it here, but in your current project I'll not show you how to use this one. So you can just remove it or use it if you feel it has something to do with your project. Okay, so after that, now that's cool for task model. Now let's move to the project model. So on project model, we'll have the relationship to show that which client does this project belongs to. So here you can see I have to import this one, which will be the belongs to, and then you can see the client will be our relationship, and here it will be referencing or belongs to client model by using this client ID foreign key. And here I didn't specify the client ID because this is client ID, means that Laravel will be smart enough to determine that the foreign key here should be the client ID. But here on task it will be difficult because by default, if you didn't put this one, if you didn't specify that one, Laravel will assume that here you have something called the creator underscore ID. So that if it will be using that one, means the foreign key will not match, and if it will not match, that means this relationship will not work. So if you see that the way that you use to create your relation, the foreign key is quite different to the name of the actually the relationship, make sure you specify this foreign key in your function here. Okay, so that's cool. Now let's go back here, to the project. So the first one will be for client, the second one will be the creator and the updater as usual, because we have those relationships here. So let's add those two. Okay, so we have the creator and the updater, but also we need to know the task that belongs to the specific project. So here we'll have has many, because one project may have many tasks. Okay, and after that, now let's go to the client model. So let's go to the client model here. Now let's add the relationship. So we'll have the let's copy one of them from here for the creator and the updater. So let's copy these two. So let's go back to the client model, paste that, because this is repetitive, so it will be there. Also we need to know the projects that belongs to the specific client. Okay, so you can see one client can have more than one project, so that's why we have this projects relationship. Okay, and then after that, now let's update our factories so that we can create dummy datas. Okay, so now let me close all of these files, and now let's search for the, we'll start with the client factory. Okay, so on client factory here, and before we go to the factory population, now let me go back to one thing. I forgot to add the categories, because we have the category here. Okay, and from this category means in other tables like projects. So for the project here, we need to have another relationship or foreign key that will determine this project belongs to which category. Okay, so here I'll have category ID. So this will be belonging to categories table. Okay, so it will be constrained to that table, and the same way we'll do for the task. Okay, and to make this more to make more sense, now let me show you another thing that I'll do. I'll create an enum. So PHP @make enum. I'll call it category type, and I'll make it to be a string enum. Let's open that. So it will be this one. So from here I'll have case, then I'll call it, as we did here on categories, we have the project, so we'll have the case project, which will be corresponding to this one, and we'll have another one for task. Okay, we'll have task, which will be corresponding to task. Okay, you can add the labels and everything that you want here on enum, but for now I'll just stick with that one. Okay, and after that, now let's go to the task, and already we've added this one, so let's add this on our models. So on a project, let's add the relationship with the field here. So category ID. Now let's create the category relationship here. So public function category, which will be belongs to, and here we will return belongs to category. Okay, so similar way we are going to do on task. So this should be category _ID. Okay, so that's cool. So now we can be able to migrate our tables. So let's do this. PHP @migrate. So you can see we have created the categories, clients, projects, and task tables. So now if you go back to the database and try to refresh, and now you can see we have the categories, clients, projects, and the task. Okay, now let's go back here and work on our factories. So now let's update the factories. So we'll start with the one with categories. So here on categories, we are going to use the following. So we're going to have the name, which will be created by using this way. So we're going to use faker, and then we are going to say give us a name, just a random name. Okay, and then for the type, here we are going to say random element. Now we are going to have project, and the second one will be task. So means that it will create a random element from those two types. Okay, and then the fourth one will be, the third one will be description, or this should be description, which will just create a random paragraph. So let's give paragraph, or you can just use say paragraphs if you want, let's say more than one. So Yeah, so let me just use this one. So let me just stick with paragraph. Okay, now let's go to the client factory, and from there I'll just paste the following. So here I'll just have the name of the company, email, phone number, address, status, which will be either active or inactive by using the random element. But here we need to have the user from here. So I'll just create a user, and this will be coming from user model. Then I'll say factory, then I'll just create. Okay, now let's import this. Okay, so that user will be used to add the created by and the updated by. Okay, now let's go to the project factory, which is this one. Now let me paste the following. So on here I'll paste the following, import the user and also the client. So these are the models. Okay, so first of all we are getting the user, which will be created from this factory, and then we define the start date and the end date of the project. And from the start date we are using this faker method, which is called date time between, and here you specify the start date and the end date. And the way you can do is like this way. So when you put the negative, means that this will be 30 years before now, and end date you can put now, but here you can see I put between that date, which will be this one, and the end date will be the +1 year, so means the next year. Okay, and here you can see we have the name, which will be created from this sentence method. We have the description, start date, end date, image path, which will be using this method, so you can just do it, but it will be optional. And we have the status, which can be the following, because I just updated this, so let me just update here too. So we'll have in progress, we can have cancelled, and the other one will be pending. Okay, now let's add the pending here. Yeah, so that's cool. Now we'll have the created by, updated by, and the client. So this will be for the project. Now let's go to the task, and I'll paste the following. So I'm just trying to make this easier. So let me just import the followings. Let's import the model, and here we'll have for the status here we need to add the missing one. So on task we have pending, on hold, in progress, completed, and cancelled. So let's see, pending, in progress, completed, and on hold. So on hold, let's add on hold here, on hold. Okay, so that's cool. Now we need to remove this one because it does not exist. We need to add that. Okay, and for assigned user, that's cool. Project ID, that's cool, and this is fine. Okay, so now that's all that we want to do. So now we can have dummy data on our models. So now what we are going to do, let's go and use those factories here on our seeder. So what I'll do, I'll just use them here. So the first one will be for the category. So I'll just say category, then I'll say factory, and then I'll say create, Okay, so here I'll specify the number of categories that I want, so I'll just put 10 there, and now I'll just run php @db seed. So that will create 10 new dummy categories. So if we visit categories, now you can see we have these categories, but you can see here it has put some names of people. So you can just change that, because we Faker give you a lot of different ways you can create the dummy datas, but for now just leave that way. And now let's try for the clients. So I'll just comment that, and I'll just create for client, then a factory, and then I want to create 10 clients, then I'll say create, and now let's run the db seed. Okay, so here data truncated for column status. Okay, now let's check. So the client factory, now let's check for the client factory. Oh, so this should be in active, in underscore then active. Okay, so now let's try again. Yeah, so now that's cool. Now let's try to check here. Now we have the names here. As you can see, we have the emails, phone numbers, addresses, status, and categories and everything. Okay, I mean created by and updated by. So you can see that's cool. Now let's go to create the dummy projects. So here we are going to create the dummy projects. So let me comment that, and here I'll just call the project model, and I'll call the factory, which I want to create 10 project, and I'll call the create method at. Now let's run the command. Okay, category ID doesn't have a default value. Okay, now on the project factory here, yep, we need to specify the category ID field. So now let's do this. So this should be category ID, which will be coming from category model. Okay, so it will be like that way. And now let's try. Okay, so now let's go and try to check our projects. Yeah, so now we have these projects, and you can see the categories here, but that factory basically will create new categories and new clients. So basically now if you visit the client, you will see the numbers increased. So if you see here, you see the clients now we have 35, and for the categories we have 20. So means these create their own datas. Okay, and after that, now let's create the task. Let's go to the database seeder and comment that, and here I'll create for the task. I'll call the factory. I want 10 task, and then I'll call the create method. Okay, here also we need to add the category. So what I'll do, I just add the category here. So let me just make it category ID, and this should be coming from category model. Now let's seed. Okay, so basically this will create new categories and new projects, so that the relationship can be there. So you can see now we have those tasks, we have these projects, and yeah, so that's cool. So now we have those data in our database. So now the next step will be, because we have already created the models, migrations, and the factories, now it's time for us to integrate FilamentPHP into our Laravel 12 application. So now let's start by going to the Filament documentation. So here we are going to use Filament version 4. So make sure that you are using Filament version 4 here. So let's get started, and from here let's navigate to installation section, and here make sure that you have these key requirements for Filament version 4 to run in your application. So first of all, you need to have PHP version 8.2 and above, Laravel version 11 and above, and also Tailwind CSS version 4, which all of these are already met here. So starting with Tailwind, you can see we have Tailwind version 4. Also we have Laravel, which is Laravel 12, but also you need to have PHP above 8.2. So you can see we are using 8.3 here, so it means that we are good, so we can be able to install FilamentPHP into our application. So let me clear the terminal, and now let's go back to the documentation here, and now let's copy these commands to install Filament admin panel, because here we are not going to install individual components. So if you want to know how to install individual components, I have the previous video, so you can check that, which I'll share the link in this video description. So for now, let's just copy these two commands, and here I'll paste them, and I'll click enter. So this will require all the Filament version 4 files that we need, and then it will install it automatic. So now let's give it a time. Okay, and after that, now you will be asked for the panel ID. So for the moment, I'll just leave it that way. So it will be admin. And when you are asked to give the repo star, so you can use yes or no, because I've already done that, so I'll keep no, and I'll clear my terminal. So now means we have Filament version 4 into our Laravel 12 application. So now if we go to this application and go to this URL, so /admin, and click enter, means it will load the new FilamentPHP admin panel. Okay, and here you can see we have this and a new admin panel login page that has been opened by visiting the admin panel here. Okay, so basically you'll be directed to the login page. So if you have a user that is already in your system, you can be able to log in here. So yes, of course we have users here, but I want to create a test user that we'll use to test our application. So for that, I'll use the Filament command. So php make Filament user, and then here I'll provide the name, which I'll call it super admin. Then I'll have the email for superadmin at example.com. Then I'll have the password. Okay, so now I can use those credentials to log in here. So here I'll say superadmin at example, then password. Now let's try to sign in. And now you can see we have this new admin panel that has been opened, which we are on dashboard. So as I've mentioned in my introduction of this video, this will be a project that will give you a basic understanding of Filament version 4. So here we have the version 4 dashboard of our Filament application. So you can see we have the a way a user can change their theme from light to dark, or to make sure that the system will change this theme automatically. Also, the user can be able to sign out from here. Also, they can sign out from here. And here you have the name, initials of your logged in user. also the name of that logged in user. And here on top left corner you will have the name of your project, which you have put here in our .env file here. Okay, so now that's cool. So now the next step will be to generate the resources for managing project management application. So let's start by generating the resource for managing our users list. Okay, so let's start by that. Here, let me run this command: php make filament resource, and I'll provide the name of the model. So I'll say user, and I'll use this flag called generate. So what it does, it will generate the resource with the fields basing on the field that are provided inside this model. Okay, so let me click enter, and here you will be asked for the title attribute, which will be used for the labeling. So you can use and basically I'll show you how to do this, but for now I'll just say user. And here, would you like to generate a read-only view page for this resource? So I'll just say yes, because I want to have the view page for my resource. And if in Filament version 4, this comes as a new feature, because on version 3 we were not asked for this one, or even for this one. So when you just pass this one, it will generate the view page automatic. Okay, so that was the new update on the Filament version 4. So now if you go back here and refresh your application, okay, you should see a new link here on your sidebar. So if I click that, now I should be able to see all my users. Okay, and here you can see we have the list of users. So this is the table, and this table was automatically generated by using the resource generate function, or I mean command that we have run here. So this table that you see here was generated automatically. So let's see what is inside that generated file. So here you have a new directory called the Filament. Inside it you will have the resources, and you will have the directory of the resource that we have generated. So the users will be the name of the directory, and inside it you will have three different directories and one file, which will be the name of which will contain all the details concerning with your resource. So here you will see when you open this file, which is user resource.php, from Filament version 3, here you will find all the forms details here. But for now, in version 4, you only see this function returning this user form, and then here we see it have this method called the configure. So what it does means that all the fields configuration that you were supposed to put here are now on separate directory, which will be here on schemas. Okay, so on the schemas here you see you have the class called the user form, which is this one. Okay, so instead of passing it here by yourself, so now it is just separated in two different directories. The same way for the view page. So lately we were just using the same edit page to be view page, but now it has been changed to info list. So now the view page is using the info list. You can see this class is here on the schemas. It is called the user info list, and for the table, as usual, it is also separated by creating a separate class, which is called the users table, which belongs to this directory, and you can see it from here. So now you also have this directory called the pages, which was reserved because later on in version 3 also we were having these pages. So on these pages nothing has changed, so as you can see. Okay, but now let's check for the user form, user info list, and the user table. Okay, so on user form, this is what you are supposed to pass down here on your user resource. So this was supposed to be here, but in Filament version 4, that was the update. So we've separated the concerns. So this is cool, and it makes your resource to be very clean. As you can see here, only the required things remaining here. So from my side, I said this is very cool, and it makes your code easier to manage and even to understand the concerns. Okay, so now on user form here, you will have the fields for your form. So the first field will be the name, the email verified at, and also the password. Okay, yeah, so these will be only the things that we will find here, but if you want to add more fields, I'll just show you in a minute, because we are going to integrate the roles and permission. So I'll just show you how to add the field here. But also you have the user info list, which will be a page that will help you to show the data in read-only mode. So if you want to know more about the info list, you can pass that through the documentation, through your Filament documentation here. So from here, you can just come inside this info list, and from here you will have the detailed explanations about the info list. So you can see this is used to just display a read-only list of data for a specific entity. Okay, so this will be for our users, so we can show the name, email verified at, the created at, and also the updated at. And lastly, you have the table, which will be used here to show the list of all users, which will be from here. So it is coming from this users table class. So here you are creating this configure method, and which pass this table to here, and this table is where you are going to configure your columns. So here are the names of columns that you can configure. So we have the name, email verified at, created at, and also the updated at, and both of these are configured to be much cleaner, so that the user resource cannot have a lot of the codes here. So all of the changes that you may have, you are supposed to do inside here. So you can add the filters, you can add the actions here if you want, and also you can be able to add the bulky actions here. Okay, so for example, if I want also the email verified at to be toggable, then you can use just this method, which is called toggable. Then you can pass down this is toggable hidden by default. Then you can make this to be false if you want to make that by default to be shown, but user can toggle it to be hidden. So you can just do like this and pass here false. Okay, so means now if you go back here to the application and refresh, by default you will see this field, but you can be able to toggle it out here. So if I do this and apply, now you can see the field is gone. Okay, so that's what I was trying to explain here. Okay, and if you apply, now you will see that field. But also this is the new update, because in Filament version 3, when you just check this, it was updating this table automatically. But for now, you have this button for apply the columns, but also you can be able to reset. So these are the new changes that they come with the Filament version 4. But down here you have the pagination. So because we have 126 results of users, so means you can navigate through different pages. So you can go to page number 2, as you can see from the URL that parameter has been passed there. You can move to different pages up to the last page, which is 13. Okay, so this is the list of our users, and here you can click any of these table record called the record actions here. So we have the view action and the edit actions. So those are called the record actions because they are found within a specific record. Okay, so here we can click view to view the specific user, and as you can see that it is only in read only mode, so you cannot be able to update or change anything here. But also you can move to edit from here. Similarly to a way that you, instead of moving it from view, you can just click from here. So instead of going to view and then edit, you can just click edit from here, and it will direct you to the same page that is for editing the user. So you can just update the name, email, and also the password. Okay, so you can just save and the changes will be reflected. So now let's go back to the users list, and this is done. And you can create a new user. So this will open up the create user form, and from here you can create a new user like this one. So here you can pass the password. You can use okay. Now we have an error here, populated automatic. Okay, now I understand why this error comes up. So from here, when I use this form filler, it populated something here, and when it populated that Filament will try to search it on a global scope, because basically when you are creating a resource, as you remember, we were asked to pass down the title attribute for this model. So we passed this one, which is wrong. So sorry for that, because I didn't make consideration on that. So here, when we are talking about this one, so when you pass the title attribute, means that will be the field name that will be used to search your resources on global. So this will be a global search for your application. It means that even if you go to the dashboard, you can still be able to search for users here. So what we did a mistake here is to provide the wrong field name here. So when you will be asked again for the title attribute, you should pass one of the columns that will be used to search for that specific resource. So for example, for us, we can update it here from user to name, because name is one of the field or column in our model. So here on user, we have the name. Okay, so that will be working perfect. So now if we go back here and refresh and try to search for the names, so we can search for super, and you can see we have the super admin, and from there you can click that and it will direct you to the view page of that specific user. So that is one of the corrections that I want to make here. So when you are creating a new resource, make sure that for the title attribute, please provide the name of the column that is found on that specific table. Okay, so I believe that is cool. And now the other thing that has been changed is how you are using the navigation icons. So before it was like this way. So if you go back to the Filament documentation on version 3, the navigation icons, it was different on how now they are used. So for example, here on the navigation, so this is Filament version 3. I'm trying to show you the difference. So here the icons were used a little bit differently. So let's search here for navigation. Navigation icon. So you can see this is how the navigation icon were used. So that's where those were trying to be shown, but now it is quite different. So now here you are going to pass the hero icon, which will be this one, and then you're going to put here the name of that specific icon. So instead of just passing the string, so this will help you to put that string for you, like this one, you can see. Okay, so that's cool how you can do that. So you can try other new icon. So for example, you can say arrow down, and now we can see this will put down something like this one. Okay, so now if we go back here on our application and try to refresh, now we should see the icon changing here. So you can see now it is pointing down. So this is the arrow down. So you can change that, let's say, to user group. Okay, and now let's refresh. Okay, so now I believe you have a basic understanding concerning on how the new file structure of your Filament version 4 resource is. So as I've mentioned, you have the new directory which will be Filament. Inside it you will find a new directory called the resources. Inside the resources is where all your resources directories will be stored. So as we have created the one for users, now inside the users you will see there is 3 main directories: the pages, schemas, and tables. The pages stores the page for create, edit, listing, and view, and schemas store the user form and the user info list. The table stores the table including all table actions that you can do. And on the user resource.php, this is where all of those configuration pages will be called here. So other pages here is where the URL will be stored. Okay, so after that means we can continue with the next resource. So let's generate the next resource here. So let me run the command. So for now we are going to create for category. Okay, now let's generate, and then for the title let's use the name because we have the name on category, and I'll click yes because I want the view page. Okay, so basically now if we go back to the view and refresh, yeah, so now you should see this new categories page. So if we visit that, now we'll see we have the categories listing, and you have the type and the name. Okay, and also you can have a way to edit. So you can see this is how easy you can just do that. And here you have a select field, and all of these were automatically generated based on the fields that we have from the database model. So now you can see we have a new directory called the categories, and we have the ones for users. So this for the categories, it will have the same way like the pages, the schemas, and the tables. So in the tables you will see this is where all the fields will be shown. So these are the tables, are the fields that will be shown here on the table, on the listing of the categories. And if you want to update anything on the form, so this is the form that is used when you are either editing or creating. Okay, so if you are trying to create a new category, so here you can be able to select the category type, and then you can create that new category. And here on category resource is where all those will be called. But for this we didn't have the view page, so here I didn't select the view page here. Okay, so that's why we don't have the view page for the category. So now let's do the same way for client. So client, so we have the name on client, and here I'll select yes. Okay, so this will create the other page for client, which will be the resource for clients. and now you can see we can be able to see the client listing. So this is the listing of our clients, but here you can see these fields were not automatically referenced to the relationship. So what you can do is to do that on your own. So it means it will be manual work. So let's do that here on the clients table. So the created by and updated by. So what you can do, because we have the relationship between the client and user, so the relationship name was creator, if you remember that. So the relationship name was creator, so you can just confirm that from here. So we have the creator and the updater, so we need to use those relationships. So we will say creator dot name, means by using dot means we are accessing the value from this object. So this will be the relationship object, and then we are accessing the name of that creator from that model or object. Okay, so this name will be from users, because here the creator belongs to user, so means it will reference to this user's user name. Okay, after that then we need to reference the updater here. So let's call the updater relationship, and then we are going to reference the name, and here we are going to change this. Instead of being numeric, we will just make it to be sortable, but even if you can put this to be searchable. So if you want your users to be searchable, there means the creator or updater to be searchable, you can just add this method called the searchable or function. Okay, so now that's cool. Now let's go back here and try to refresh again. And now you can see the creator has been populated, but the updater was not populated. Why? Because for the clients, we didn't do any update on here. Here you can see on the clients, already we have that. So let's see. So this should be update. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this is, I have a typo here. This should be this way. Okay, now if we go back here and refresh, now we should see the name of the updater. Okay, so for example, right now I've logged in with the admin. So if I try to update this user, so let me go to update, which is edit page, and now here on the updated by and created by, also we need to change those fields because that is on form. So let's go to the schemas and client form. So here we need to have a way to reference the user's listing. So what we will do, I'll just remove this numeric, I'll put a comma here. I want to use the function called the relations, but I'll change this one from text input to select, and then here we'll have the option to use the relationship method, and from here I'll pass the name of the relationship, which is creator, and the attribute name will be the name. So I just want to show the names of the creators, and after that, if you refresh here, now you should be able to see the names of the users that you have on your database. But what if you want to search for this listing? So what you can do is just to add here the function called the searchable, and if we refresh, now you should be able to type here. For example, we want to search for spadmin. Now you should see the spadmin. But when you drop this select, you don't see the listing of all users. So to make sure that the listing is shown, you need to add this function called the preload. Means it will load all the users when you just click here, select. Okay, so let's refresh, and now you can see the listing was loaded, and now you can be able to search as usual. Okay, so now you can see, so the creator will be updated like that way. So now let's do the same thing for this one. So this should be select, and here we should have relationship, and then the relationship should be updater, and we should show the name of that updater, and we should make sure that it is searchable, and it should preload the values. Okay, so now if we refresh, now you can see the updater. Now you can be able to search for the updater, and now instead of users to be able to change these values by themselves, because now we can change that. Let's say, for example, I can make the updater to be admin, and if I save, now you can see it is saved, and if I go back here, you see the updater has been updated. But instead of users to change this by themselves, but because basically user can say the user that has updated is someone else, so to avoid that, we can make this to be automatic. So we can just put the default value here. So we can use the default function, and what we will say, we are going to use the auth facade to get the currently logged in user, and then we are going to get the ID of the logged in user. Okay, similar way to here. And now let's refresh. Okay, so here means if we try to remove these values, let me remove also here and save. Okay, so these are required. So what we will do, I just want to remove those values from the database, and then I want to show you that we need to populate the values automatic. So let me put okay, so because these are not nullable, so means it will be not good to demonstrate it through that. So let me just try to create a new client, but you need to make sure that this can be nullable. And yeah, so here you can see this is what I was trying to demonstrate to you. So here you can see the creator will be populated automatic by using the ID of the logged in user. So what you can do, we can just make this to be disabled, so that the user cannot change those values, so it will just populate itself, okay, to avoid the user to update these values. And later on, when we will integrate with the user and roles, I will show you how to make this even to be enabled only for a certain roles, and to be disabled for certain roles. So that's how easy we can just do that. But for now, we will just keep it this way. But the issue here which will rise if we try to create the new client here, those two values will not be populated. Why? Will not be stored on a database. I'll show you why. So for example, now we have something like that, and click create. So you can see these values will not be available on your query here. You see? So now we don't have those two values from here. You can say insert into clients. Then you can see we have only name, email, phone, address, status, but we don't have the updated by and created by. So why? Because when you put the disable here, means that Filament will ignore these two fields. So to make Filament to not ignore these values, we are going to use the hydrated dehydrate, which is this one, and then here you can just pass something like a true, which is a condition. So just do the same thing here, dehydrate, yes, dehydrated, then put true and if you don't put anything here, by default it will be true. Okay, so now if we refresh and try to populate those values, and if we try to create, now this should work. Okay, so you can see the user has been created. So that is how useful these dehydrated methods are when you just disable the select fields. So for now, I guess this is fine, and I've already showed you how to populate these values automatic by using the logged in users. Okay, so after that, now let's go to the next resource, which is project. Now let me close that, and now let's rerun the command, and now we'll change this one to project, which is the name of the model. From project we have the project name, so we'll say yes, we want to have the view page for project, and then we need the other one for task. Okay, now we have the task name, and yes. Okay, so now we have all the resources required. So now let's go back here and refresh. Yep, so we have the project, and from here you can see we have the project name, start date, end date, image path, status, created by and updated by. We will do the same thing, the client of that specific project, the categories, and we have the view, and from here also you have edit. So this is our edit form. Okay, so now what we want to do here is to update some of the things. So let's start with the table, which handles the listing here. So we want to show the image. I want to make this to be a little bit more styled by using badge, to implement the created by and updated by, also to make sure that when you visit the edit page, also you can see the listing here, and I want to change the style of this status. Okay, so to do so, let me just start with the table. So I'll start with the table for projects. So let me update the table. So from here, for created by and updated by, let me just copy what we already did here. So let me copy this one and this one. So this will be the same. So what I'll do, I just want to update that in bulk way. So to update that in bulk way, what I'll do, I'll just copy this up to here, and I'll come here on my VS Code, I'll paste that. So it will find everywhere where we have the same text, and I want to make sure that it match all the cases, and let me just make it to match all the cases and all the one which match the whole world. So I'll select the first two, so I'll not select this one. Okay, and after that I want to replace it by using the one from client here. So I'll copy this one, so this fields, I'll copy that and I'll paste it inside the replace. Okay, and after that I will click replace all, and then it will ask you for confirmation. So let's click replace. Okay, and now all the places where we had that creator, so now it will be updated. So now if we go back here on the projects, now we should be good. Now you can see the creator and the updater. So now let's go to the form. Okay, so on the form where we have these two, I want to update them in bulk way again. So what I'll do, I'll just go to client form, and here we have the created by and the updated by. So what we need to do, let's go to the project. I'll copy the created and updated by. I'll go back here, and here I'll just delete, and then I'll paste the new text, and then on form here I want to select this one, which is from client, which is already working well. Now we are going to paste it here on the replace. So let me remove that and paste the new code, and now replace, now confirm. And now if we go back here and refresh, okay, oh yeah, we need to import this auth facade. So let's import the auth facade. So let's go to the project here, and let me import this. Import the facade one the same way to task, because it has just updated everywhere that we have that created by and updated by. So I believe now everywhere it will be working fine. So now let's refresh. Yeah, so now you can see it has just make this to be disabled, but now you can be able to see the list of users. Okay, now on the status I want to update something here. So I want to use instead of using just the text on select, so I want to use another field which is called the toggle buttons. Okay, and then I'll have the options, and from there we need to make sure that this because right now actually what you can see, let me just show you. This is for task. No, I just want to do it for project. So let's just change this one to be toggle buttons. And now if we go back here, now the status will be in this way. So you can see now you should be able to select it through these buttons, but I want to group these buttons. So to group those buttons, I just have this function called the grouped. And now if I go back here and refresh, now you should see this stay on the column, which is a row basically, and they will be stacked to each other. So means that they will be in a similar row instead of being vertical. So now they are horizontal, okay, which is looking very good. But you can also be able to add the icons for different statuses. So now you can just be able to change this, but you can add the icons if you want, and that will be pretty good. So for now I just believe this is fine for the status. And for image path, I want to update where the images will be stored. So here you can see this is just a validation to make sure that only images are being uploaded, but I want to modify which disk they will be stored. So here I put them on public. I want to preserve the file names. I want to make them to be downloadable and to be openable. Okay, so after that, now this should be good. And now if I go back here, and for categories also I want to make this to be searchable, and then after that I'll show you how to upload the image. So now here we need to make sure that this is searchable and also to preload. Okay, similar way to client names. So we need to make sure this is preloaded and it is searchable. Okay, refresh. Yeah, so now we are good. Now you can be able to search for categories, and you can also be able to search for clients. Okay, Later on I'll show you how to update these forms. So for now, let me just show you how to upload the image. But in order for the file system to work fine, you need to make a stream link. So we'll just do that by using this command. So php storage link. So this will create a symbolic link which will be a storage. And now if we go back here, refresh, and now let's try to upload an image. So I'll just upload a random image here. So I just upload a random image. Yep, so you can see the image was uploaded successfully. And now if I save, yep, so you can see now the image was saved successful, but you can see the name of the image was reserved. You can be able to download that image, you can be able to open it. So if I open now, you can see the image will be opened in a new tab, but also you can be able to download it. So when you download, you can see the image was downloaded, and you can remove that image. If you want to remove that image, you can remove from there. Okay, and here you can be able to select the date and time for the basically the start and end of that specific project, and that is good. But also you can be able to delete from here, but also you can be able to delete from the table listing. So for now, on the table listing here, you don't see the delete action, but you have the bulk delete action. So for example, if I click this one, and here on bulk, you can see I have the option to delete that value. Okay, and for the image that we have uploaded, we should be able to see it from the listing here. I'm not sure which item we just uploaded the image. I believe with this one. So let's see. Let's go to the edit. Yeah, it's this one. So we want to show this image here on the table. We want to show it here. So how to do it? Let's go to the projects table, and here on image path, we need to make, so this is image path. Is that correct? I believe that is fine. Okay, so I believe this is not showing. Let me just try to use the disk method here and specify the disk name to be public. Yeah, because by default here on the .env file, Laravel automatically is using the local disk file. So if we are using local disk file, means that here Filament will automatically looking for the local disk. But remember, our image was stored in a public directory, as we did here. So we implemented that it should be stored in a public disk. So to make sure that Filament understand that, we should pass here the name of the disk. So that's why I've passed here the public. And now if we go back here on our application, now let's refresh. Now you should be able to see the image here. So if you want to customize this image furthermore, you can use this link. So you can go to tables, columns, and then image. So you can find it here. So you can make this image, let's say you can change the size. If you want to change the size like this way, you can make the image to be square. You can make it to be circular if you want to make it to be circular. Okay, and there is more, you can just do that. But for now, this I believe is fine. So you can just show that. If you want to see more about that, you can just visit that page. and from there you can be able to show that image. So also here on the view, which is our info list, so we can go to the info list here and do the same thing here. So make sure that you pass the disk name like that way, and if you refresh, now you should see the image. Same way if you go to edit, yeah, so that's cool. So for example, now the project is in progress, you can change to complete and save. And if we go back to the projects, now you should see the status is complete. So I want to change that. Instead of just showing the normal field, I want to make this one to be a badge. So I want to make this to be a badge like that way, and if we refresh, now you see, so now at least it looks well. Okay, yeah, so for the project I believe everything is fine. So now let's go to the task. So here on the task listing, you can see the description is a little bit long. So this field we need to change we need to make we need to add the limit. We need to make this to be badge, similar way to the priority, and also we need to update this assigned user and the project ID to be able to reference to the required data. So let's start by the table of task. So let's go to the task, and then let's start to the table. Here on the image, we need to pass the disk. The disk name should be public. This should be a badge. Okay. Later on, I will show you how to add the different colors on these badges. So for now, let me just add the badges. And here on the assigned user, we should use the relationship that we have on the task. So let's go to the task model here. And the assigned user should be, we didn't define the relationship for the assigned user. So let's put the relationship here. So public function assigned user, which should be belongs to, and here we should return belongs to user. Okay, and the foreign key for that is this one. Okay, so now let's use this relationship here, and then we are going to get the name from that relationship. So if we go back here and refresh, okay, so here assigned user, you can see it is shown well. Now let's redo the same thing for project. So now let's go back here, and we have the project, which is projects, but basically this is task. So we have the project, but we need to also have a project as a singular project. Where does this task belong? Okay, so we should have a belongs to, which we should change also here. So this should be belongs to. So we need to use this one here. Then we need to get the name of the project. So let's remove this from numeric, and the user can be able to search for the project name, also for the assigned users. Okay, now let's refresh. Let me go back here. Yeah, so now you can see the project name and the assigned user. So now let's let's limit this description so that it will not be that long. So here we can just limit. So on limit we can use the, let's say we can limit by using the length of the characters that you need your users to be able to pass. So if we put the characters there, you'll see this will be limited like by counting the number of characters in your text. But also you can use another way by using the word function. So it will just count the words. So if you say I just want to limit on 10 words, so it will count 10 words on your paragraph, and it will limit after that a certain way. So now let me put 5 words and refresh. Yeah, so this is cool. Now this is fine, and here we have everything that we need. Let's go back to the edit, and we need to make sure that this is inline. So let's make it to be grouped. So let's go to the schemas, form, and this is to go button. Now let's make it to be grouped. So that's fine. And for project ID and the user ID, let's update those to be select. Let's make them to be select, and let's have the relationship here. The relationship is project, and we need to get the name of the project similar way to this one. So it should not be numeric. This should be select field, and then relationship. Then the name of the relationship is assigned user. And then we get the attribute of name. Okay, and we need to make sure that this is searchable, and we need to make sure that this is loaded, but also let's put that way and refresh. Yeah, so assigned user, so you can see this does not have any assigned user. And similar way here we have assigned the project. So on the project we need to put the searchable, so let's add that here. We should make sure that this is searchable and this is preloaded. Okay, now let's refresh again. Yeah, so now that's cool. Now let's update for the image. So on the image, I'm going to show you another one new thing. So we'll put all the things that we had before. So we'll have the disk, which should be public. We need to have the reserve file names. We need to have the loadable and openable. But the next thing, I want to change the directory of where these images will be stored. So here I just want to store this on directory called the tasks. Okay, so after that, if we go back here and refresh, and if we try to upload the image here, let's upload another image, let's say this one. So after that, you can see the image is uploaded successful. Now let's save. Okay, so you can see the image has been saved. So now the difference, you can come here on storage app, then on your public directory, you can see there is a new directory called the tasks, and inside it is where the image will be stored. But the other image that we stored before, we didn't provide any directory, so that's why you can see it is inside the public key directory, and it is here that you can access it directly without any directory. So to provide a specific directory, just use this method called the directory. Okay, so now that's good. And here on the priority, I just also want to make it to be this way, so I just want to use also the toggle option. So here let me just use the toggle buttons and make them to be grouped, and if I refresh, also you can see we have the low, medium, and the high, so you can just change those that way. But if you want to put the different colors and different icons for this, you can just come here, so you can go to the forms and you can check for the toggle buttons here. Okay, so for example, you want to change the color of the options, so this is how you can just do it. So you just have to define the colors. So for example, here you can just pass the colors, and from that array you can pass the value. So for example, for pending, this is priority. So for low, so you want to say, like, let's say this should be responding to success, and for medium, let's say you want to make this to be warning, and for high you want to make this to be danger. Okay, so now if we go back here and refresh, now you see this is danger. If I go back to low, you can see it is success. If I go to medium, you can see it is on warning, which is likely to be the primary color. Okay, so you can see this is how you can change the colors. But also if you want to change the icons, it will be the similar way. So you can just go here and add these icons. You can see, so this is how easy you can just add the icons here. So that way, let me import this hero icon, and now if I go back here and refresh my page, okay, I forgot to update. Okay, so here I forgot to update these values, so this should be raw, medium, and high. Okay, so high. Now let's refresh. Okay, now you can see we have the icons. Okay, so that's how easy you can just do that. So you can do the same thing for these. You can update the colors. So for example, you can update the colors here. So you can just copy these and use them here. But here you need to change this to pending. Let's say pending on hold, in progress, and for completed, and for the cancelled. Okay, so for the cancelled we can put the danger, for completed we can put the success, for in progress we can use the secondary, for on hold we can put the warning, or we can just put the info, and this is where we can put the warning. Okay, so that will be cool. Now let's refresh. So here on pending it is warning. Now let's go to the on hold. You can see it is info. On progress you can see it is secondary, that's why you don't see a difference. On completed it is success, and cancelled you can see it is danger. Okay, so that's how easy you can just update those. So you can put the icons there for a way that you feel it suffices you. So for now, I'll just go back here. Yeah, so that's how easy you can just do this listing. But if you want to add the delete action here directly on the records, what you can do, just go to the task table, and from record action here, you see there's view and edit. So we can just add a delete action. So add a delete action, then make, and if we go back here and refresh, now you should be able to delete the values from here. Okay, so we can just click that and it will ask you for the confirmation. You see, so you delete this one, so let's say delete, and that value will be deleted. Okay, so that's how easy you can just do that. Okay, so now after being able to add the task and projects, also the clients and categories. Yeah, so now I want to add another thing here on the dashboard. I want to show some of the widgets here. So the first thing, let me close this. I want to show the statistics. So let me just clear my terminal. So here I'll say PHP @ make filament widget, and the name of the widget will be system overview, and I want to use the stats. So the stats here, you can just pass this name. So stats overview, and here would you like to create this widget in a panel? So I'll say yes. And would you like to create this widget in a resource? I'll say no. So I'll just click enter, and that will create a new widget which will be inside the filament directory. And inside the filament directory, now you will have two directories. Firstly, we were only having the resources, but now we have only we've added the new directory called the widgets. So from here, you see you have this widget. So how you are going to add this widget is like this way. So you are going to use this class called the start, and then we are going to use the make. So this make actually accepts the two parameters, the label and then the value. So the label, for example, we can say number of users, okay, and the value we can get the users count. Okay, so import this one. Okay, and now if we go back to the dashboard and try to refresh, now we should be able to see the widget here. So you can see the number of users, it is 126. But also you can change that. For example, you can get only the users, let's say with only email verified, so you can just pass anything that you want. But for now, I just want to do it that way. So next we can put another stats here, so we can say the number of projects. We can have, so this should be project and task, client. So here it should be the number of clients, projects, and then task. Okay, that's way. And then if we go back here and refresh, yeah, so you can see now we have this a good way of showing the stats of our task. And now we need to create a new widget. So I'll create a new widget, which will be a table which will show the recent projects, and then we will show the recent task. Okay, so let me just create the recent projects. So this should be a table. Let me pass the table. So yes, then no. The model should be the project. So I'll say yes. And I want to also create another one for recent task. Okay, it should also be a table. So here I'll say yes, and for the widget in a resource I'll say no. The name of the model will be task. Okay, so I'll say yes. Yeah, so now let's go and check these two new widgets. So we have the recent task and the recent projects. So from here it has just imported the project, but it was wrong, so let me import again this one. Okay, so that's cool. And now here on the columns we can be able to pass the columns that we have here on the projects on the table. So let's copy this one. I'll just use the created by here, import that, and also this one. Okay, so now we will have that new widget. So let's refresh. You can see we have this new widget. So this for the task, it has not been okay, so let's update that too. So let's import the right model here, which is this one. Now let's copy the required fields or columns. So let's copy this up to the created by, which is here, and then let's paste it here. Okay, now let's import all classes. Okay, now let's go back here and refresh. Yeah, so here the only difference is that these tables should be in a full column. So instead of being side by side like this way, because you don't see the data in a good way, so we need to make a sort here. So this should be the first widget up here, and this should be the second, and this should be the third, and we should make this to be a full width column. So to do so, we should make this first to be a full width column. So to do so, you can just check from here. So what you can do is to visit here. So I just want to check for full you can check that from the documentation here. Let's search for the widgets, and okay, now let's check from here. Okay, let's go back here to the overview. I believe here is where you can just find that. So let's go down a little bit. Yeah, so this one. So you can see you can use this one to make the widget to be a full column width. So let me go back here. So here I'll paste that. So this will make a widget to be a full width widget. Okay, and then if we go back to the project and refresh, now you should see. So we have this, the first table, which is a table widget. You can see the second one, but you want to make this to be down here and this one to be on top. So to do so, we need to have the sort. So to have the sort, you can just also see it from here. So this is the navigation sort. Okay. Yeah, so let's try to use the sort. Basically, this should not be navigation sort. Let's try to use the sort. So let's try this one, protected. This can be an int, then let's say sort. This should be, let's say, number 1. And for the recent task, this can be number 2. And then this one should be number 0. Okay, now let's see what we get here. Okay, so as none static, okay, let's say protected static integer. Now let's refresh, only declare static. Maybe let's make this to be nullable. Let's try to make this to be nullable. So let's try to make this to be nullable. And here too. Now let's try to refresh. Still we don't get anything. Now protected the static, this one sort. Okay, let me copy this one. Maybe I have a typo here. So this should be the first one. And then this one should be the second one. And this one should be the 0. Okay, this way. Now let's refresh. Yep, so this works. You can see the stats, you can see the recent project, and here you can see the recent task. Yeah, so now this dashboard looks well on my side, and later on I'll show you how to update these values. So for example, we can get the number of projects, so we can put here like the complete project and the pending or anything like that. So we can just show those values here on another widget. So I'll just show you that, or we can also show the percentages of these projects. So for now, let me update these icons for these projects, and then we will continue with the other values. So let me just go to hero icons. So I want to update the one for project. So let me start with the project resource here. So for the project, I'll use the cube. So this should be cube. So if it's called the cube here, you can just call cube. Okay, and that is good. Now for the task, we can use the queued list, which is this one. So let's use the queued list. And for the clients, let's use the circle user, so this one. And now let's try to refresh our application here. Yeah, so that's how good they look. So for the categories, I'll just leave that default icon. Okay, so after changing these icons, now we can have another new action or feature that in our project. So that feature will be FilamentPHP gives you an option. For example, you want to see the related data for a certain model. For example, here on the clients, on your edit page here, you want when user visits this page, you want to show all the related project to this specific client. So to do so, FilamentPHP gives you an option to use the feature known as the relationship managers. So the relation managers helps you to show all the related data to a certain data. So here we will use that feature to show the related project to this particular client. So to do so, let's first navigate to the terminal. So open up the terminal, and from here we are going to run the following command. So php @make filament relation manager, and we are going to provide the name of the resource that we want to create the relationship in. So here we are going to say we want to create the relationship inside our client resource, and then we are going to provide the name of the project, the name of the relation. So remember that in your model here, the client, you have this relationship between the client and the project. So this helps you to know this particular client has how many projects. So from this relationship, you can be able to get all the projects that are related to this particular client. So we are going to use the same relationship, which is this one here, and then we are going to give the attribute that is found inside the project. So I'll give the project name. Okay. So from here, I'll say yes, and then I'll not select anything. And then here, which resource do you want to use? I'll select this one because I want to show the related project to this particular client. So to do so, I'll just type the projects / project resource. Make sure you type it well, resource. Now enter. So now it has created this new file, and then it says make sure to register the relation in this client, then get relations method. So now in our client directory here, you see there is a new directory called relation managers, and inside it we have this new created class. And this class, you can see it implemented this interface called the relation manager, and we have the relationship here, which is called the projects, this which refers to the relationship that I've just shown you here. So it is very important to mention that. And then it says the related resource here is project resource, and then after that we have the table here. So this table means it will be related to this particular resource. So now the important thing is to come here on your resource, current resource. You will have this method called get relations. So from here, mention that new project relation manager, and then put something like that. And now if you go back here on the edit page, now if you refresh, down here you can see there is a new card, and you see all the related project to this particular client. So let's navigate to another client. Let's try this one. So on view, you can see there is no any related project. So for example, from this particular client, so we can just copy that name from here, and then we can come here on the projects. Then we can create a new project, and we can just populate some of the things. Let me just close this one, and from here on the client, I'm going to search for that particular client, and then I'll select that. I'll select the category. Let me select any of these categories, and then from there I'm going to create. Okay, so you can see, so here the client will be our client, which is this one. So now if we go back to the client and visit our client here, down here we are supposed to see two projects. So you can see we have this one, and also we have this one. So you can see this is completed and this is in progress. So that's how easy you can just add the relationship between your resources or your models. Okay, so that's how easy you can just do that. So now let's go back to the project, and we are going to create the relationship manager for specific. Let's say if you open this project, we want to know all the related tasks to this particular project. So now let's redo the same procedure. So here we are going to change. So this should be project resource, and then in the name of the relationship, make sure that you visit the project model, and here make sure that you have this many-to-many relationship with that, or one-to-many relationship with that particular task model. So here we are going to say tasks. So that is the name of the relationship that we are going to use, this one, and then the attribute will be the task name. Okay, now let's click enter. So I'll say yes, and then here I'll use the tasks backslash then task resource. Okay, so now that's good. Now let's go to the task resource, and here on the projects, basically if you start on a project, you have a new directory called the relation manager, and inside it you can see you have this new class that extends that relation manager interface. The relationship is task, and the related resource is task resource. But there is different ways that you can use those relationships. So if you want to know more about relationship managers, you can visit this link, and you can find many different ways that you can customize, many different ways that you can do. So for the sake of our project, I'll just use this simplest way to relate these data. So for now, we need to make sure that we register this one on your project resource here. So on the get relations, we are going to say task relation manager, like that way. Okay, so now let's go back to the project, and here on our project, so this is our project, so we want to see all the related tasks to this particular project. So let's refresh, and down here you can see it is loading, and there is no any related task. So let's go back here, and if there is no any related task, you can just create it from here. So for example, if you go to the edit, you can create it directly from the relationship manager here. So you can just click new task, so you can create a new task here, but make sure that you select the project that you want to see. So let me open it in a new tab. So the name is this one. Let me copy it, and then let me search it here. Select that. Okay, select the category, and basically here on category we want to be more specific. So because we updated that to have two type of categories, so here on form, on the project creating, so for example here on a project, when you are creating project, so we need to make sure that we only fetch the categories that are project related categories. If you remember what I'm trying to explain here, on category here we have this type, which means that we store different kind of categories. So for example, if I show you here, so we have the categories for task and categories for project. So we need to make sure that if you are dealing with the project, we need only to fetch the project related categories. So here what I'm going to do on my project form here, so instead of fetching all the categories, I'm going to modify the query here. So I'm going to use the function, which will be a closure, so function, and then I'll pass the query parameter, and then I'll use the query to say I want to get all the categories where they are type. So here we are going to get the category type enum, and then I'm going to get the, so this should be the project, and then I'm going to get the value. Okay, and then now let me terminate, and if I go back to the project creation, let me try to create a new tab here, and I try to visit the new project form. Okay, duplicate value in enum. Okay, let me just use this way and try to see. In enum, this one for case, project, and task. It says there is duplicate value in enum. I guess there is an issue here. So this is our enum basically, and this is the case of project and task. Yeah, so basically you can see we have project, and here it should be task. Okay, so that's what was the issue. So now if we refresh again, yeah, so now you can see here we should only see the categories that are related to project and not task. So let me go back here, and now we have selected the project, Now let's select the new date, let's say for this particular task. So let's say on next month here, and this is on pending. So let's say create the login page. So here you can put a different description. So I'll assign it to super admin. Okay, and now let me try to create. Okay, so we've created that task. So now let's go to this project, and now let's see if the task will appear here. And now you can see the task is here, create the login page, and you can see it is pending, and the priority is medium as we selected. The assigned user you can see is the admin. The project is this one, which is the same name as this one, and you can see the category and everything is just fine. Okay, so now that was for the project. We've already done the same thing for the client. So now let's do for the users. So basically we want to, if you open a certain user, we want to see all the assigned task to this particular user. So what we are going to do first is to add the assigned task relationship to the user. So here let's create a public function called tasks, and then this should be as many. So here we are going to return this, and this should be as many tasks. Okay. Okay, so now let's create the relationship manager for that. So let's change this one. So it should be user resource. So the relationship will remain tasks because we've already defined it here. So here I'll just say yes, and then I'll select the resource that we are going to relate. It is called the task. So let's call the task, then resource. Okay. Now let's register that resource on our users model. Users resource here on get relations. Now let's say task relation manager, and make sure that you select the one that is related to users. Okay, and then put the class there. So make sure that you have imported the one. So check this one. Make sure that is different from the other one. So now if we go back to the user and try to refresh, now we should see the related task key here. Task key, then user ID. Okay, so basically here we have one issue. So we should put here the foreign key. So basically on our task we have this assigned user, which is this one. So basically here it is trying to get for the user ID. So what we can do, we can just pass this one here as a foreign key. So let's try again. Yeah, so you can see no any related data to this user. So let's search for the super admin. Now let's open the super admin. Yeah, so you can see this is the task that was assigned to the superadmin. So you can see all the related data to this user has been shown, and you can visit the edit, you can still see the same related tasks. So here the admin can be able to add a new task for that particular user. So for example, let's say create the register page and link it to login page. Okay, and for description you can put anything there. You can add an image. So let me add this, just a random image. For the due date, you can just select any due date that you feel is fine. So let me just put a random value. So let me select the project, assign it to superadmin, and select a category, then create. And now if you go back to users list, and if you visit to superadmin, now we should see 2 tasks assigned to this particular user. Yeah, so you can see, and the image is there. So that's how easy, by using FilamentPHP, you can just do the related data. Okay. Yes, so after being able to add the feature that we have, so we've added the categories, clients, project, task, and the users, and we have been able to show the related data. We have been able to add the widgets on our dashboard page, and I've showed you some of the new features that have come with the Filament version 4. So now I just wanted to add a bonus feature, which is roles and permissions. So how you are going to manage your users by using their roles and permissions, so that you can control the access to your resources. So to do so, I'm going to use this package or plugin, which is called the Shield, and the creator is this one, and as you can see, this is the documentation. And from here, if you want to check for Filament version 4, then you are supposed to visit this particular link, which will open up the GitHub repository, which is this one. Okay, so from here you will see there is this warning. So this is a pre-release, which is a beta version of Shield version 4. So means that you have to keep an eye here, so as you may expect any of the breaking changes. So by saying so means that you have to make sure that you checking this repository if there is any new update that will affect your application. But for the sake of our video, I will just use this beta version of this plugin, and then we will see how it will help us to manage the roles and permission into our application. So the first step will be to install the package. So I'll copy this command, I'll go into my application, I'll open up the terminal, then from the terminal I'll paste that command, and I'll add one of the thing here. Because we are installing the beta version, so I have to specify the version that I'm going to install. Then I'm going to mention that I'm installing the beta version. So I'll click enter, and this will start to install the plugin. So let's give it a time, and then when it will be done, then we will continue with our video. Okay, so now you can see this is done. So the next step will be to publish the configuration and the setup for the authentication provider model. So let's copy this command, let's go to the terminal, then let me run that command. Okay, so you can see it has just populated this configuration file, which is called filament shield.php. So here on config, and you will find this file called filament shield, and inside it you will see there is a couple of configurations that you can have. So you can see the should register navigation is true by default. The slug is that one. So there is a couple of changes that you may have. Here is where you define the prefixes of your permissions, and there is more that you can have. For example, here the discovery of all resources and everything like that. So you may change anything here if you feel there is something that you want beyond the normal setup. So here you need to make sure that the model is user, or the model that you want to use for the authentication. And then after that, if the model is user, so then we are going to implement this one. So we are going to add this trait, which is called has roles in our user model. So we are going to our user model here, then we are going to use the trait which is called has roles, and then let's import that. So you can see we have just imported this one. Okay, and then after that, the next step is to run this command, because we don't have the multi-tenancy in our application. But if you have multi-tenancy, you have to run this one as your command. So for me, I'll just stick with this one. So it will be, this should be PHP artisan shield setup. So here I would say yes. So this will publish some of the migrations, and after that I'll say no, because I've already done the starting of the repo. So there is a couple of migrations that have been created by running that command. So here on your migrations, you will find there is this new migration file that will be used to create the permissions table, roles, model has permission, model has roles, and also the role has permission. So all of that will be created by using this migration file. And now, as you can see here, it has already run that migration. So that was done automatically. So if we go back to the database and refresh our database, now we should have those new tables. So you see we have the permission, roles, role has permission, model has permission. So all of that were created automatically by the package. Now the next step is to install for the panel. So if you use this command, it will work, but for me I prefer to use this way so that I can make it manually. So I'm going to add this on my admin panel. So let me go to admin panel, and here on admin panel here I'm going to paste the code, and we should have something like this. So plugins, and then inside it is where you are going to pass the plugin, which is Filament Shield plugin, and make sure that you pass the same way that I am doing here. And then after that you should be okay. But if you are using tenancies, make sure that you run this command or add this manually into your admin panel. And then after that, there is more explanations here. I'll not go after that, so I'll just stick to my application and I'll show you everything that you need to do. So now let me clear my terminal, and then I'll just optimize my application. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to run the following command, which is php artisan shield generate. So this command will help us to generate the So I'll say generate, then all. So this flag means that we are going to generate the policies for all our models that we have here. So this will help us to generate the policies for all of our models. So now let me just run enter, and I have to select the panel that I'm going to generate for. So now you can see it has generated for project, client, category, task, and user model. Okay, so now here you will have a new directory called the policies, and inside here you will see there is this class which is called the category policy, and it has this trait which is called the handle authorizations, and here you will see there's different functions that help you to determine if the user can be able to view any category, view a category, create, update, delete any, force delete any, restore any, replicate, and reorder. So those are the basic access that you can have within your models. So they were generated automatically by using this shield plugin. So that's the best thing about this plugin. So you can see down here on the features, you can see there is a couple of features. So resource permission, you can have page permission, widget permissions, custom permissions. So you can add custom permissions, and it supports the multi-tenancy, and it has policy generation. That is what we have seen now, and also it supports translations. Means when you are creating a multilingual application, then this with the right package to use all the right plugin. Okay, so after doing so, now here on our application, we need to have a super admin for our application. So to create the super admin, let me clear my terminal again, and I'm going to create a super admin here like this way. So PHP @ shield, then I'm going to say super -admin, and I'm given this option because already we have a couple of users, but if you don't have any user, so this will ask you to generate or to create a new user. So for now, I will just select an ID of super admin to be our super admin. So I'll enter the ID, which is 126. It may differently on your side, depending on the number of users that you have on your database. So I'll say that, and then you can see we can be able to log in by using these credentials. So now let's go back here and refresh our application. Okay, so now after refreshing our page, now you can see we have something new here on our sidebar. So here we have this group which is called the Filament Shield, and we have this link called the rows, and here it shows the number of rows. So for example, if I open this one, now I should be able to see the list of all the roles that I have, and here I have the guard name, the name of the role, guard name, the number of permission that this role has. I updated that, and you can be able to edit it or delete, but also you can be able to create a new role. So for example, if you open this one, so you should see an edit form that will show you all the permission that you have on your role. So here you can see, for example, we have the permissions concerning with their categories. We have permission concerning with their client, project. So you can see all of these were generated automatic. So you can be able to change these and it will work as you expect. So for example, right now our super admin can be able to see the, let's say, the categories, but if we don't want admin to be able to see this, so we are going to uncheck these. Okay, so for example, we can uncheck, and then after that let's say, for example, I can uncheck all of them. Okay, and then after that I'm going to save. So you can see here nothing. So now let's go back to the dashboard, and now you can see the categories has been hidden. So here as admin cannot be able to access the categories. Okay, and even if the admin tries to access the categories, so for example, you can see here it says admin clients, but if we try to change that to categories, we should not be able to access that. So you can see you are getting the 4 or 3, which is saying we are forbidden to access that resource. So that's how cool this plugin is. So I'm going to show you how to create new roles, and then we are going to use them inside the application. So let's edit. So I'm going to select all of that because this is a admin, so should be able to access all of the resources. And now let's save. Okay, but here on top you can see also we have a tab for managing the widgets. So if you remember on your dashboard you have these 3 widgets that we've added, but if you don't want the admin to be able to see, now you can uncheck on any of these. Okay, so now let's go back here and create a new role. Click new role, and I'm going to create a new role which I'm going to call it just employee, or I can call it, let's say, developer. So I'm assuming that our company will be having the developers, so I'm going to say developer. And from here I don't want the developer to be able to edit the categories, so I just want them to be able to see them, but not to be able to create or update, and not be able to perform any of these actions. So just to see them. Same way to the client, similar way to the project, and I don't want them to be able to edit anything on our roles. And then on task, I want them to be able to create the task and also to be able to edit. But for users, I don't want them to do anything. And then I'm going to create another, because I want to create another role, which I'm going to call it like project manager. Okay, so for the project manager, I just want to make them to be able to create their categories, manage the client, means that they can be able to see clients, create them and update. They can be able to create the project and update them, and also they should be able to perform any of these tasks on task. And on users, I don't want them to be able to do anything. So I'm going to create. Okay, now if I go back here, now you see we have 3 roles. So there's admin, developer, and the project manager. And here you can see the number of permissions that they have. But if you want to change the guard name, now you can change that from the edit page here. So just to set up your guards, and then you just need to change it here. Okay, so after being able to add these roles, now we need to be able to assign the roles to our users. So how to do that, I'm going to show you that here. So we want to see if this is the developer. We want to show here that this is the developer. So to show that, now let's go back to the code. Okay, now here on our code, let me zoom back a little bit. Now let's navigate to the user resource. Okay, so here on our resource we need to go to the table. Let's navigate to the table, and here we want to show the rows. So here I'm going to say text column, then make, then I'm going to call it rows, then I'm going to get the name of the role, and after that if we go back here and try to refresh, now we should be able to see that. So now let's go to the page that the Spiderman is. Now you see the role has been shown here. So here we are just accessing the names of the roles by using the roles relationship. So by adding this trait here, so we are able to access all the relationship that are found within this package. Okay, so from here we were able to access the name of the roles, but I want to make this to be a badge. Okay, and if I go back here and refresh, now you see, so we have the Spiderman here, but if we go back inside on the edit page of our users table or users form, here we don't have a way to see the field that we can change the rows. So to do so, we are going to add a select field on our form. So let's go to the users form, and here let's say after this field I want to add the select field. So I'm going to call it, but basically this is found on documentation, so you can just be able to get that through the documentation here. So you can just navigate down here. So without tenants you can just use this one, but also you can use the checkboxes. So I prefer to use this one. So this is what I was supposed to add here. Okay, and let me remove this one because we already have that. So let's import this one, and now we should be able to see that, and also we are able to select multiple rows. So if we go back to the application and refresh, and now you can see we have the field called roles, and here we can see the Spiderman has the role of Spiderman. But here if you drop that field, you can see we have the remaining roles, so you can assign the same user with the role of developer and also the project manager. But for now I'll just leave it to Spiderman. Now I'll go back to another user and assign a certain role. So now let's try for this one. So let's navigate to this user, and from here I'm going to assign this user the role of a developer. Okay, and now I'm going to save that changes. Here on password, and this requires to insert the password all the time, so I want to make an update here. So instead of just having this, I just want to put some of the changes here. So one of the things will be to add this hash. So let me import that first. So here I wanted to dehydrate this field, means I want to repopulate it by using the hash field. So this will just will encrypt our password that the user has filled, and then it will repopulate that value into this field. And here also we just want to dehydrate by using the state, so means that the value that is on this field will be filled to this field by using the dehydrated. And for required, we want to make this to be conditional, so the field can only be required on the operation of creating, but on editing we don't want to make this field to be required. And here I want to make the field to be reviewable, means that when you go back here and refresh, now you can see we have this an eye icon which you can toggle between the password. So for example, if we select this to be a developer, okay, and if you type something here, so you can see it is visible, but if you do something like this, if you toggle, you see the field will be shown and hidden. Okay, so that's what I was trying to do, but now this should not be required on edit, but on create this should be required. So for example, if you go to the page of listing and visit the new user, now you see this is required, and if you try to create, you see all this field will be required, but on edit you can see this is not required. And now if we try to save, now we should be able to save, and now you can see it has been saved. And if we go back here, we should see the user with the role that we have assigned. So you see the user had the role of a developer. So you can do the same for another user, for example, and we can assign the role of project manager. Okay, and you can also be able to assign more than one role to a single user. So for example, for this user we can assign the developer and the project manager roles. Okay, so like that, and now save. Okay, and now if we go back to this page, now we should be able to see the two of the roles that you have assigned that specific user. So now if we try to log in as a developer, now we should be able to see the difference. So let's copy the email of this user with this one. Now let's log out. And paste the email, then the password, sign in. Then you can see we are redirected to the dashboard, and from the dashboard here you can see we are able to see all the widgets as required. But here you can see we don't see the rows, so we are not able to see the rows. But here on categories, you can see the user can only be able to see the listing, but cannot be able to edit or delete, but also they cannot be able to create a new category. Same way to the client, you can see they can only be able to view it, you see, so they can only be able to see the client, but they cannot be able to edit or perform any of the changes on that data. Similar to the projects, see, and on the task we give them the ability to edit the task. So let's check on that. So here they can be able to update or create a new task, so which is the role, and I mean the permission that we gave them. Okay, but also they can be able to edit. So that's cool, and that's how easy you can just do that. But also we want to check for the user that has the two of the roles. So let me log in back as admin. And let me check the user that has the two rows, the email. So with this one, so I'll copy the email and then I'll try to log in with that specific email. Okay, and the user has been successfully logged in, and here on categories you can see the user can be able to add new categories, but also they can be able to edit similar way to the task, project, and also the client. Okay, but you can see all of them, they are not able to delete any of these data. So that's how cool this plugin can give you access, but also you can be able to hide these. So you can see these widgets, but in order for the widgets to work from here, so for example, I can show you if I sign in as a super admin. So I can show you that. Let me open another tab here, and then I'll open it, the same project, open it here. So from here on admin, I mean the super admin, let me go to the roles, and on the role of a project manager, I want to make that the project manager cannot be able to see, as you can see here, these are not checked, but the project manager can be able to see these widgets. So means that the package does not able to identify these widgets. So to help the package to be able to identify these widgets, we need to do one of the following changes. So let me log in this on the other tab that I've opened. Let me open this one on here, and that's the password. Okay, and here you can see this is the project manager, but you can see they are able to access these widgets, even though here on roles they are not given access to those widgets. So you can see from here, so you can confirm from here. So if I go to the widgets, you can see the user or this role has not been given permission to access these widgets, but they can be able to access and see them. So the issue here, we need to tell the plugin that those widgets depend on our package. So to do so, we are going here on widgets, and inside a widget, you are going to use the following trait, which is has shield widget. So it is called has widget shield, and then terminate that. No, this should be here on top of your class. Okay, so it should be there. And after that, after adding that, means if we go back to this user and try to refresh, because we've added it on recent project, so means we will not be able to see this recent project. So let me refresh. And now you can see we only see the number of users and only the recent task. So the similar way, if we add it to the recent task, let's add it here, import that, and if we go back here and refresh, now we should only see the stats and you don't see the table widgets. And let's add it the same on here, or use as widget shield. Okay, and now if you go back here and refresh, now all the widgets will be gone. So means that now we should be able to assign these permissions. So if we assign now for the system overview and save, now the user should be able to access this widget. So if we go back here and refresh, now you see, so we are able to see the widget. So you can limit the access to the resources, but also you can limit the access to the widgets. So that's how cool this package is. But intentionally, this video was made for giving you the introduction to Filament version 4. So I believe this video was helpful for you to have a good start with your Filament application if you are new to Filament. But this will be a good start for Filament version 4, as I've shown you some of the new updates. So for example, for the resources, the way the file structure for resources has been changed. So you can use that new approach that I've shown you. And basically that's how easy you can just do that. But for the bonus feature is for the roles and the permission. So I believe this was helpful. So if you find the video was helpful to you guys, please hit the like button, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not do that. So see you on the next video.